What's going on, YouTube? So this is my second go at making this video. I actually took some notes this time, so hopefully you'll stay a bit more organized and a bit more concise. Um, Ultimately, if I get myself talking on these topics, I could probably go on almost endlessly, but I'm really trying not to do that. I don't think it's all that helpful compared to the short, sub 10-minute digestible stuff. Um, so I was going to call this "Weekends Are Made for Cutting," or "Weekends Are for Cutting," but I shifted it over to "Weekends Are for Getting Healthier" because I wanted to make this um, a bit more broad in its perspective shift. Um, Obviously, a lot of people who are going down the fitness journey landscape on the internet are often looking at fat loss because, let's just be blunt, most people um, have fat to lose and they'd like to be leaner, which usually is going to be a huge catalyst for improving other things in their life and is usually underlying a lot of their health issues and fitness issues. Just to be really simple on my end, I was active and in pretty good shape compared to the average American, which is really saying very little. But I went from like 235, I'm almost 6'4", I went from 235 and now I'm about 216. But even once I got down to like the low 220s, without doing much extra, the level of fitness and wellness that I felt was pretty shocking. So I was probably around 20% on the high end, maybe 21, which again for an American is pretty good. I look like I lifted, but plenty of belly, and I honestly wasn't feeling great. So losing 15 pounds of fat, or probably closer to 20, has made a shockingly big impact. I can really only imagine what it'd be like to lose 30, 40, 50 pounds, how much better you would feel. So anyways, to get back on track, weekends are for getting healthier, but they're also for cutting. So what I want to talk about in this video is, ultimately, weekends are often where people fall off track when the structure of their regular week falls away and they have time to let their lesser habits take over. So a lot of people that are on a health and fitness path will make much better decisions during the week. They have more regimented schedule. Their meal timing is more oriented around their work schedule. Maybe they're eating with colleagues. Maybe they're busy enough where they're just relatively distracted and it's pretty easy to stick to a meal plan. And they're just eating fewer calories. Maybe they're more active. Maybe they work in a field where they're moving a lot during the week at their job. And let's say they're on a fat loss plan. So let's say they have a 500, 600, 700 calorie deficit, and by Friday evening, they're theoretically in a nice 25 to 2,800 calorie deficit for the week so far. And then starting Friday night, they go out, burger and fries. Friday is blown. Saturday, maybe they skip breakfast but end up feeling kind of like crap during the rest of the day because they went out the night before. So now they're going to eat some junk food for comfort and dopamine. That day's off the rails a little bit, so maybe they have some pizza at night, maybe they have some more drinks. So let's call Saturday at best a maintenance caloric day, but probably over. And then Sunday comes, and Sunday, let's say, is a bit more reasonable, a little bit less drinking, and maybe they're just below maintenance. So a week like that is pretty typical for people who are on a diet, right, on a fat loss plan. So usually on a week like that, let's say optimistically they're setting a 5 to 1,000 calorie deficit for the entire week, not per day. So they're aiming to set a deficit of 500 calories, 700 calories per day, and now they've done it per week. So they've essentially extended their timeline 7 times longer than it should be, at least on paper. So what we want to do is think about how to take advantage of the weekends. What are some tips and strategies you can use to make the weekends actually the opposite of that, to actually use the weekends to set you up for the week ahead, to make more progress on your fat loss journey, or if it's just a health and fitness perspective and maybe you're at a weight you're really happy with, to take advantage of the weekends to set your week up to just be generally more successful. And maybe you're preparing for an event or something, so you're doing a triathlon or something. Take advantage of those weekends for extra training time to set yourself up to really crush your triathlon. Or alternatively, maybe you're going on a big hunting trip with your buddies and you're going to have to be, packing out 60 pounds of venison if the trip goes good, you know. So maybe you want to be prepping for that, or you're going on a big fishing trip where you got to paddle, just to get the outdoorsmen engaged here. So the first thing I want to talk about for the weekends is probably the biggest thing, which is going to the grocery store, getting the foods you need, and then actually preparing the foods to set you up for the week. So that is the, I guess, somewhat in vogue meal prep, apparently. I'm in my 40s now, so I don't really know what TikTok and Instagram do, but I've had multiple young people see me eating lunch out of my Pyrex containers and be like, "Oh, bro, oh, bro, you meal prep?" And it just made me laugh because I didn't know meal prep was a verb now, but apparently it is. So, "Oh, bro, you meal prep?" As if that was a thing cool kids are doing now. And I was just like, yeah, yeah, I bring my own lunch to work. I guess that's weird now, or special, but I guess it is. So anyways, go to the grocery store, pick a day, pick a time, and get some damn grocery bags. Go to the store and have a list of stuff you always get, you know. I can kind of reel it off real quick off the top of my head, but for me, it's, 4 or 5 pounds of chicken breast. This is not just for me, 4 or 5 pounds of chicken breast, some deli meat, that's mostly for the kids, egg whites for my wife. We have our own eggs here with our own chickens, lean ground beef, usually 93.7 or leaner, ground chicken, lean ground chicken. See what else? Greek yogurt, a ton of Greek yogurt, fat-free Greek yogurt, etc. Veggies, tons of fruit. Just to give you an idea, basically I have my list in my head and I can pretty much rattle it off verbatim because I've done it so many times. It's the same list. My wife will add stuff here and there, and I'll typically do one to go. Some weekends it's her, but generally speaking, the fridge is stocked with the same food all the time. A minimum of junk food as well. Like our junk food consists of like dried fruit, some pretzels, and maybe some bland cereal for the kids. Not optimal, but that's what they eat with whole milk, so it could be worse, right? To all the parents out there, you know what it's like. So yeah, get your grocery done and then meal prep. So honestly, once you start doing it, it's really easy. Get some good tunes going on or something, and just get into the process. Fire up the grill, fire up your pan, fire up your your boiler, whatever it is. For us, it's usually cooking off chicken breast or cooking off beef, roasting some potatoes maybe, dicing up veggies and stuff if you do that. And then also we've been making fresh beans, so we take dried beans and we soak them and do stuff like that. So honestly, meal prep right now is mostly cooking protein for me, I'll be honest, because I cook my own breakfast at home, and dinners are usually made for me, which is great. So shout out to my wife. Next thing is taking advantage of the weekends to do a little bit of intermittent fasting. So I'm generally not a huge fan of intermittent fasting for people with busy lives. I think it typically has some negative effects on overall cortisol and often sets people up to either binge eat or eat later in the day, which isn't always great for them. But if you're pretty dialed in during the week and you feel like you could handle some intermittent fasting, give it a shot. Maybe you have your coffee, you delay your first meal a little bit, go for a walk. Just enjoy a little extra fat burn, and then you can kind of start your eating day a bit later. I'm not suggesting that I think it's a great idea. That's something you can play with. What I do is a little bit less extreme, and I would just say it's a little more optimized meal timing. During the week, my meal timing is sort of driven by when my typical work day starts, when my coworkers eat lunch, and then when we eat dinner as a family. So I'm kind of moving my schedule around to fit. So for me, it's 8 a.m. breakfast in the car typically, and then 12 noon lunch with coworkers, so it's a social and also work-oriented activity, which is great. And then I usually eat probably a third to a quarter of my lunch, which is pretty large, at 4 o'clock, and that sets me up to come home and not be starving. So 6 o'clock dinner with the family. That 4 o'clock meal is actually a huge advantage. It's been hugely helpful, honestly. I come home not starving, a much more reasonable dinner. And then that's my fourth meal. Fifth meal tends to be Greek yogurt, like 8 o'clock. So I'll go to bed around 10:30, 11 if I'm being good. So if I had my own schedule, which I do much more on the weekends, is typically what I'm doing is delaying that first meal to like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Second meal around 2 o'clock. Dinner, normal time, and then often that yogurt snack, if you will, in the evening. So that 4 meals is actually quite a lot easier to get to be a bit more cutting oriented, so fewer calories. So optimize your meal timing on the weekends, and it's close enough to my normal schedule where it doesn't throw me off at all. But that said, there's no reason you can't use your normal meal timing on the weekends, 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever it is for you. That's what it is for me. And you train your body to eat at those times, and maybe that's where you want to be. Maybe on the weekends you feel a bit more relaxed and you take advantage of delaying your eating, or maybe you push it forward. I don't know. Things you can mess with. So next tip is going to be take advantage of the weekends to make cutting easier by making more elaborate meals that maybe they taste great, they're really good for you, they're fun. Food can be enjoyable, right? It's got to be fuel first, but it can also be enjoyable. So maybe you're making your huge salads that during the week just take too much time, and you're making like sort of elaborate stir fries and scrambles, and maybe you're doing like really cool baked dishes that are really healthy but take some extra time and thought process to do. So it's a good opportunity to get some more diversity into your diet, some more nutritious foods maybe you're missing out on. For me, I tend to load more veggies into the weekend. So next thing is going to be, and this is probably one of the biggest ones, is exercise. For folks who are really busy and keep making excuses why they can't lift during the week, you should be strength training. I assume you are. The weekends are great. You can strength train both days on the weekends. If you're a beginner, half an hour on Saturday, half an hour Sunday. Maybe you do upper body Saturday, lower body and abs on Sunday. So that's great. Walks, if you're into walking, you can do 3, 4, 5 walks over the weekend, break them up, get 20, 25, 30,000 steps over the weekend if you're ready for that. So something else you have extra time for, right? Do it with your wife, do it with your kids. Enjoy getting out there. Throw a light backpack on, get a little ruck in, go into the woods, get a hike in, even better. Play with your kids, spend extra time with your wife. Hang out with your friends. So all that stuff can be done not necessarily around food, but around activity. Go to the beach, go boating, swim in the lake, go to a rock gym if it's raining, go for a bike ride, play some sports, just go to the park and shoot around. Make food together, but make nutritious food that actually supports your health goals and your fat loss goals. So lots of things you can do with additional time that in the week can sometimes be harder. You could also take more time for meditation, journaling, other mental health activities, or general relaxation. Take a nap, man. Sleep extra, So another great opportunity over the weekend. Don't just start staying up late just because it's the weekend. So go to bed a bit earlier, not later, right? You have more time to relax. You shouldn't really need a long wind down period on a Sunday night after a weekend of, theoretically pretty chill activities. Spend some time taking care of your home, whether it's an apartment or a house, and take some pride in where you live. Plenty of good stuff you can do on the weekends that's really good for you and really productive, and also pretty relaxing. So the last thing I want to talk about is something that's a bit more specialized and probably not relevant to most people, but is use the weekend for a carbohydrate refeed. Or, if you are in the realm of refeeds that are, let's say, higher fat or whatever, that's fine too. But it's a good opportunity because you can be so active on the weekends compared to during the week too. If you are going to do a carb refeed where you're hitting, 4, 5, 6, 700 grams of carbs over the course of 36 or 48 hours, specific numbers actually aren't really important. If you don't know about carb refeeds, we're not going to do it now. But take advantage of the weekends to do your carb refeeds. What that means for me, honestly, I much prefer doing proper refeeds on lots of small meals. I don't really like having, for me, carb refeeds are going to be like 500, 600 carbs per day, grams of carbs. I can be at cutting calories and still be taking in that kind of carbs as long as my fats are low. And honestly, I don't like taking in 200 grams of carbs in a single meal. It doesn't feel great, honestly. So if I am using it for a reason, I like to spread my carbs out over like 4 or 5, more like 6 or 7 smaller feedings though. I like rice cakes a lot, and rice, lower fiber starches to do the refeeds. So that's a good opportunity to spread it out. It's a lot nicer to do it when you have a more open schedule. You can kind of snack throughout the day and do your activities in between, and just come into your training on Sunday feeling like a superhero and super full, great pumps and all that stuff you're doing your refeeds for anyways. So, all right. So I know that last one was a little bit unusual, but again, it's really about the final thing, which is a paradigm shift. Stop seeing your weekends as an opportunity to fall off the wagon and start seeing them as an opportunity to actually continue the momentum of the week. The first weekend you get right, the first weekend you actually do this and you set yourself up for success. Like, you know what the feeling is like stepping on the scale Monday morning and being like, holy crap, for the first time ever, I didn't blow it over the weekend, and you actually, the scale's at a spot you'd expect. You're not like fighting back from a weekend of treating your body like a trash can. You start the week with good energy, feeling rested. It's a complete game changer. So I know I've talked a lot about cutting and fat loss, but I'm just going to be honest. If you treat yourself well over the weekends and really use them as an opportunity to be with friends, family, if you go to church or temple or whatever it is, and spend time in communion with God, the weekends are an amazing opportunity to really bring yourself into the week a lot fresher and a lot more prepared to continue the good habits you set even deeper over the weekends, as opposed to setting good habits for 5 days and then spending 2 days undoing them, and then trying to set them again for 5 days and then spending 2 days undoing them. And then often it's like you have a bad enough weekend and then you kind of fall off the whole thing, right? So anyways, shift the paradigm. Your weekends are for health, weekends are for cutting, weekends are for family, friends, God, and communion. So anyways, that was way longer than 10 minutes, but I feel like it was pretty solid. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if that paradigm has shifted for you, and if it did, how it happened, and what the difference has been. So anyways, peace everybody. Take care.